extra running.
In Knoxville, it's the Mighty Dolls, and we'll turn over to Coach Muschamp.
Tennessee this week at Neyland Stadium, Saturday afternoon at noon, as Steve said. Offensively led by John Kelly. He's an outstanding football player, leads them in rushing and receiving, runs violent, great competitor. We got to do a good job of handling him in the run and the passing game. We do a really good job with him. Defensively led up front, you got Kongbo and Vickers and Tuttle and McKenzie, all guys that are hard to move inside, and they're always very good on special teams. From an injury standpoint for us, Zach Bailey and Corey Helms both moved around to practice today. And we'll see how they continue to progress through the week. Malik Young, we're going to look at tomorrow, and Terry Goosier is still questionable. So I'll open up for any questions.
We'll get a microphone to you, David.
Well, just looking at when talking about your defense before the year, you said that you would move guys around and put them in the best positions instead of relying on one set scheme. Have you seen that happen through these first 6 games where you've kind of mixed and matched to what your guys do well?
Mm-hmm. I think that we've done a really good job of matching guys together on the field, whether it be an experienced guy like T.J. Brunson and Sky Moore with maybe a lesser experienced player like Sherrod Green or Eldridge Thompson, an experienced player like Taylor Stallworth or York Jones with a less experienced player like Javon Kinlaw or Kobe Smith. In those sort of situations, I think our defensive staff's done a really good job of managing that. We've been very fortunate. We've been able to stay healthy on the back end because we're very thin there. But I think we've progressed well. We've improved tremendously from game 1 to now, and that was a sort of improvement we certainly needed. I think we all see NC State had a pretty good offensive football team. So I think we've made some improvements.
Go back, Josh.
Will, this is kind of the 1-year anniversary for Jake as your starter. What's the biggest difference in him now versus the guy who walked out there to get ready for UMass?
Oh, I would just total command of what we do, understanding of protections, just the mental side of it as much as anything. I think obviously physically maturation is easy to see, but just overall command of the offense, leader of our team, understanding the confidence and belief that our players have in him and the job that he's going to do.
Is this about as good as it could have gone when you made that decision? I mean, it was not necessarily a no-brainer at the time.
No, it was not. It was tough, and didn't know if it was the right decision. I didn't want to put him in a situation where he wasn't successful, and then you worry about from a confidence standpoint of trying to regain that confidence. So it's so delicate at that position, in my opinion. So it's gone very well, and I'm glad he's our quarterback.
Hey, well, such a fantastic defensive performance Saturday. What do you want to see carried over from last Saturday to this Saturday?
Well, I think the biggest challenge is consistency in your performance, doing it week in, week out, and continuing to play well. And that's something we haven't necessarily done, as an entire team, much less as a defensive unit. Put together some performances that you'll be proud of and how you play. There's no doubt. Consistency is really important to have the type of program we want to have.
Will, can you teach guys how to get turnovers from like a blank slate, or do they have to come in having some of that innate ability to want to do it?
I think it's twofold. I think that some guys have innate ability. Stephen Montack has the ability to get the ball off people. Earl Thomas had the ability to get the ball off people. Some guys have a natural, however they identify the ball, they do a really good job of getting the ball off people. They just have that knack. I think our defensive staff does a phenomenal job. We do a turnover circuit every Tuesday, and they do a great job of pointing to violators of when the ball's not in a secure position and the people we try and go after in the game. And they show video examples when they show pictures. They do everything to emphasize that part of the game, and it is so important to be a ball hawk defensively. And our defensive staff does a fantastic job of that.
Bill, how important is it to have this kind of confidence from stopping a couple of good running backs against Arkansas about to go play John Kelly?
Well, I ought to give you some confidence, but I think John Kelly is one of the elite backs in our league. There's no doubt about that. This guy really ran hard against us last year, obviously playing behind some of the guys he was playing behind. Was really the first time I think he's really gotten a lot of time was in our game last year, and he took off from there. But you can see to me, especially offensively, maybe their football team, they feed off him. He's a guy that certainly gets them going, but he runs violent. He's a great competitor.
What do you attribute the improvement in stopping the run this year compared to last year?
Well, fundamentally in technique, I think we've improved tremendously from where we were. You just see us in terms of playing blocks more square, not getting on the edges as much. People aren't getting as much movement in the run game. So I think playing blocks, being more square on blocks, I think we're stronger up front. I think obviously from a pad level standpoint, Uric Jones has improved tremendously. Taylor Stallworth is having a really good year. He's playing really good football for us. Kobe Smith's an improved player. Javon Kinlaw really helps us inside to be able to hold the point inside and demand a double team and get some vertical penetration at times. We're playing better at the end spot than we did a year ago with Dante Sawyer, Kier Thomas, Aaron Sterling, and all guys. Shamik Blackshear's gotten some snaps in the last couple games. Dennis Woolham's played extremely well up front. And I think that both linebackers are playing at a high level, T.J. Brunson and Sky Moore. And when you have two really instinctive players that we may get bounced out of a gap up front defensively, but they're able to make us right, as I always say. Make us right in the run fit. And Sky and TJ make us right a lot.
Given today's climate for head coaches, and you kind of having gone through this at Florida at the end, how do you as a head coach, and you're going to see this, I guess, on the Tennessee side of things going into Saturday, how does a head coach kind of close off the outside noise about job security and all the negativity when things aren't going well in the program?
Well, I don't know that you address anything with your football team. That's not really you're not going to be able to shut off Twitter and limit or stop that negativity. That's not going to stop. So I think as a coach, you're somewhat of in a bunker mentality. And I get up really early and come in here. I leave late at night. I hate to disappoint all of you. I don't read any of your articles. Not that I had time or want to, but I don't. I don't listen to the radio. Sorry, I apologize. So you're kind of in a bunker mentality as a coach. I mean, there's things that have happened. It may be a day before I even hear about it. And I'm in the film room. I'm in my office. I'm watching recruiting tape. I mean, there's a lot going on that you don't know about during the season. And you just continue to work, and you keep your head down, and you control the controllables, and you just keep working. And, sometimes I think if you see things within your team or your organization, you may want to address something. But I don't know that that's you're not going to be able to limit that outside of the things you can control, and that's your preparation and with your staff and your football team, and that's what I try and concentrate on.
Stand back, Mike.
You guys were able to establish the run fairly early this past week. How much credit, or I should say when it comes to confidence, how much credit do you give to being able to run the football early on for those offensive linemen to gain that confidence, opposed to maybe sitting back, because obviously offensive linemen, they love just being able to go downhill?
Well, I think you credit those young men answering the challenge and the opportunity they had in front of them, but you also got to credit our staff. I mean, they did a really nice job of finding some things we felt like we could execute well in the game, and that's been a little bit of an issue as far as some missed assignments and some things that we haven't maybe executed as well as we needed to. So I think it's both the players and the coaches deserve a lot of credit, and the game plan that we came up with, and we got to continue to evolve to again this week against a very good front with Tennessee.
Will, you mentioned Sunday that you guys might tweaked a few things on the snaps and holds on field goals. What are some of those things you tweaked?
Well, I think the depth has been something we've gone back and forth on as far as where the placement of the kick needs to be, and that we've had some issues there. And I think more than anything, just fundamentally getting Ben back where we need to on the field goal snaps. He's been really good with punts and certainly has been very capable. And Danny's done a nice job getting the ball back. But I think the distance of where the placement has been an issue.
Also, it seems like the 40-yard line kind of seems to be the mark. White's 4 or 5 inside it, hasn't made one outside. Does that affect your decisions going forward about whether or not to send him out there?
It will, and I think, and again, like I said, Sunday, a lot to me, David, goes into how we've kicked through the week, and then on game day and pregame, how he's kicking and how he feels, and so I think that again, there's never a good miss, but there's been some well-hit balls that maybe have not gone through for him, and I think the biggest thing, it's a long season, especially early in the game. those are situations that, we did give a 4-down opportunity. I told Rope on another situation, possibility of a 4-down situation here. So those are things that we constantly communicate on the headsets. And depending on how the drive's going, I'm watching the line of scrimmage. Are we getting a surge in the run game? It may only be a 2 or 3 yard game, but I feel like we're getting a hat on a hat. And those are all game time decisions we're making.
In terms of creating turnovers, how much momentum is there in game in terms of getting one and getting two? It kind of felt like you got on a little bit of a roll.
You can't put a scale on the amount of momentum it creates for your football team, the frustration it creates for your opponent, to have a turnover and a score off a turnover. I mean, it's just so uplifting, confidence, belief. I mean, so many things that emotionally I think it gives you a charge as your football team, but it also deflates the other.
A couple of your guys mentioned earlier today being the #1 takeaway team in the country or wanting to be. How much do you use that specific goal as a motivator to them and tell them that that's what I want you to be?
Well, that's the #1 goal of our football team as far as winning a game is the ball. Ball security as a ball carrier and getting the ball off people when we don't have it. Our coverage units, our defense, whatever the case may be, that's the #1 determining factor in winning and losing football games. And that's something we emphasize. We talk about it. It's in our team room every single day as far as, understanding how important, that part of the game is to us. And that's something, again, our defensive staff does a fantastic job of emphasizing that to our players. We talk about it every day.
This may be one of those things that you missed in your bunker, but Tennessee had the hunt the ball trash can thing on the sideline. You guys do something similar. Did
Well,
you?
Our bunker's nice. I mean, it's an office.
Oh, I know. I've been
It's
in.
not like
I've been
a
in there.
concrete structure or anything
Yeah,
like that.
I get that. But did you see the whole trash can thing on the sideline with Tennessee? Were you
I did
aware
not.
of that?
Coach, when you look at Tennessee's defensive numbers, #1 against the pass, but last in the SEC against the rush. Kind of weird, of course. Georgia Tech had something to do with that. But
Right.
does that change your offensive philosophy?
No, we need to, find ways that we feel like we can move the ball. I think that statistics can be very skewed when you play a team like Georgia Tech, and as effective as Paul Johnson, those guys are running the football. It's certainly your rushing stats are not going to be what you want when you play a team like that. So it's a total different, mindset and attack of what we do, and so we need to stay balanced in the game. I know that, and just early on in the week, we feel good about where we are.
Do you run into a lot of teams that do the amount that Tennessee does with multiple tight ends, and how tough is that kind of on a defense with sort of having two of those guys out there and sort of the versatility they can use with those?
Well, I think there's some similarities between what they do and what we do as far as, Wolf has been there, 6-8 years. He's been there a long time, it seems like, and he's got his brother coming. But they create some blocking service issues as a 4-man blocking service at times, and some movement as far as leveraging formations when they're in a 2 tight end set, and they're in a 1 tight end set a lot as well. So I think there's a lot of similarities and carryover for our defensive players this week as opposed to what last week there was not.
Well, you've talked about the defensive line. How have you seen DJ Wanham play, SEC Defensive Line Player of the Week?
Yeah.
How impressed have you been with his play, and how have you seen maybe him take on more of a role, more of a leadership role with Bryson's absence?
Well, there's no doubt that DJ has played extremely well this year, and he's just a steady hand. You're going to get really good production out of him. He has really done a nice job of improving in his one-on-one pass rush. He's had some really nice rushes. He missed some opportunities the other night. He was right there a couple times. It shows you how hard it is to sack a quarterback. But I've been so proud of how he's played, and as a true freshman last year, and how he has continued to evolve and really challenged him about #1 getting stronger in the weight room. And really, he is extremely bright. He's extremely intelligent. He really understands the game. He's a guy you can tell something to him one time and he gets it. It's done. You don't have to tell him over and over again. He's not a rep guy. I mean, the game comes very easy to him. He's going to play for a long time.
Will, you've watched and coached a lot of defense in the SEC in your career. Is the defensive effort that you guys put out, is that kind of still the bedrock way to turn and build a program here in this league as opposed to maybe other leagues where you see 63-59 games, things like that?
I don't, I coached at Texas in the Big 12, and I don't think it's any difference whether you're in the SEC or what league you're in. You start with effort, and then you hone each position down fundamentally to what you need to do to be successful. What are the basic fundamentals you're asking by position in any of the 11 spots, and then you got to be able to tackle, and then figure out within your group schematically what can they do and what can they handle. And I think that to me is anywhere I've been, and I've been a bunch of spots, I try to evaluate those things first as far as from a coach's standpoint, identifying your players, who can be your playmakers, who are your hot button guys that you need to get going in the rush, or you need to get in the coverage, and can we play man coverage? I mean, those are all questions you ask yourself, but to me it all starts with effort. If you get them to play hard, I keep telling our football team, I think I haven't questioned our effort in any game. And you keep playing hard and you keep playing smart and the ball bounces your way, good things are going to happen for you. And if you just will play hard and have some belief in each other, that's the one thing this team is, they do play hard. You turn the tape on and you see guys running the ball. You see guys on offense finishing. You see guys trying to play with physicality. Has it always been what we wanted? No. But I don't question the effort part of it.
Will, in terms of mixing and matching the defense, are there some similarities this year to maybe your last year at Auburn after Lawson went down in that first game and you kind of had to plug guys into some spots?
Well, it was tough. We very difficult when we lost Carl. Really, as the lone edge guy we had, we used Casanova McKenzie, who was a linebacker that we moved, and then Jeff Holland, who's having a fantastic year. I haven't been able to see him, but just hearing that he's having a really good year this year, was a true freshman in that role a lot. There's been some moving parts. We were a lot more experienced in the secondary. That year we started Jeremiah Denson, Carlton Davis, Tim Irvin. We started a bunch of true freshmen in the secondary, and we lost Josh Holsey, who's playing for the Washington Redskins. That killed us. To lose Josh, because Josh could have played safety, nickel, and corner. We had some issues in the secondary there as far as those things, and really a lot of the guys hearing about Dontavius and how those guys are playing, a lot of the same guys we played with 3 years ago or 2 years ago, I guess. But I think you're always trying to find who are your best 11. It may not be the next guy listed on the depth chart, but it may be a guy playing another position. Let's put him in there to get him ready to go and play. And I think a little bit of that's with Sherrod Green. This guy's a guy that's continued to play well. He's a good football player. He plays things the right way. He plays blocks the right way. He's a violent tackler. He does a really good job of disengages in block protection and those sort of things. So he's a guy that deserved to start at Sam, and we only had a week to get him ready. And he's up there at 8:30 at night with Coleman going over calls, and the guy, football's important to him, and you win with guys like that, and that's what we're going to continue to recruit to. And part of our evaluation is the importance of the game, football intelligence and willingness to learn.
Coach, at the start of the year, at least from the outside, it seems like for the defense, maybe the defensive line was the biggest question mark going into the year. But the last couple of weeks, they've seemed like they've been able to come into their own. What have you seen just from the beginning of the year until now?
Well, I think the biggest question I have for them is consistency in your performance and doing it week in, week out. And certainly we need to play well again this week. So I think, again, still concerned with our four-man pass rush. It hasn't been as effective as it needs to be. We look like we were running in mud there in the third and fourth quarter. So we've got to continue to win in the one-on-ones in our pass rush. But I am pleased with our gap integrity and how we're playing blocks up front and demanding double teams. But, again, we've got two guys at linebacker that when we're wrong, and we have been wrong in our fits at times, are going to make us right. And that's when you have two guys like that, that's very helpful. We missed some things in the A&M game. They spread us out a little bit, and they hit some creases on us. In 6 and 10, we're able to erase some things for us.
When you meet with coaches before games or after games, and specifically the last couple, and I guess coming up on Saturday, guys who are in position you were in, like the hot seat type of stuff, do you ever say, hey, man, hope everything works out for you, wish you luck, stuff like that?
I mean, just wish them luck. Yeah, good luck.
But not against y'all.
Not against us. Hope you playing coach really good, except for against the Gamecocks.
Coach, last year, at this point, this team was 2-4. You guys are 4-2, 2 wins away from being bowl eligible. AJ Turner said he's seen guys, care more. There's more buy-in. What have you seen as you been over this program now? Biggest difference from last year to this year, and what's that process been like up to now?
Well, I think we have a very close-knit team. I think that a lot of guys, especially I've been very pleased, and I said this Saturday, about how our older players have accepted the younger players in the program and how they've helped them along and mature through this process. And again, we're at the midway point as far as the 6 games are concerned, but there's a lot of football to play, and we got to continue to improve. And that's one of the things that I've liked has been our work ethic and how we've gone about practice. And today it was a very humid morning on the practice field, and I thought we got a lot accomplished. So continuing to prepare the right way will create our separation as we move forward for Saturday afternoons.
Coach, a few years ago when you took the Gators up to Neyland Stadium, you took a couple jabs at the Tennessee fan base. Is that a fan base that kind of gets under your skin? And if so, why?
No, I've got great respect for the University of Tennessee, their program and their history. And you go back to General Neyland and then Coach Majors and Coach Fulmer and the success that they've had. And, it's a great environment to play in. I told our guys we played Rocky Top a couple times today. They got a little tired of it. But, no, it's one of the storied programs in the country as far as their history and tradition of their program, and I've got great respect for it.
With Bailey and Helms, if they are good to go, do they get their spots back? With the emergence of Blake Camper from last week, is that a conversation you and Wolford need to have going in?
We'll have that conversation as the week moves on, and depending on their health and how much availability they'll have. Is it going to be a situation that, it's going to be an emergency-only situation? It's going to be a 40-snap situation? That determination will be done probably Thursday or Friday of this week. And I know both guys can move around right now, but I want to see how they continue to progress. How sore will they be tomorrow? All those questions we'll answer as we move forward.
When you first started recruiting Keyshawn Nixon, could you tell that he had football knowledge starting from an early point in his career? He said he really credited Snoop Dogg and what he did in his youth football league and how that's helped him.
Yeah. I'm sure Snoop helped him out a bunch. But no, Keyshawn's a really bright football player. He's worked extremely hard. I think it was very difficult him not getting here right till camp started. We got to spend no time with him as far as the football end of it, as the X's and O's end of it. Also from a physical standpoint, just being in shape. It's a huge transition coming from the West Coast to the humidity of South Carolina. Yeah, he did. He complained a lot to me about it. So I said, there's nothing I can do about it, man. It's going to be humid here. So he, and then numbers-wise, we really struggled where he fit as far as safety, possibly nickel. But he's a natural corner, and he's going to be a really good player and a guy that we're really excited about. And I'm frustrated for him because we played him at safety, and I really think that set him back a little bit. And the timing of getting in here wasn't what we all thought, including him. So it's been frustrating for him. I know it has, but you got to be a little patient. And he's been great. I mean, he works extremely hard, and I'm excited about his future here.
You mentioned playing Rocky Top a few times today. Is it kind of like last year where it gets played all throughout the week, or was that a little more because of kind of the streak going into last year's game?
It's just something that we do when that you play those guys. You play Tennessee, you're going to hear Rocky Top a couple times on Saturday, so we get them used to hearing it. Hopefully, not too much.
Do you like Rocky Top as a song?
Yeah, it's not bad. Not bad.
Anything else for Coach? We're going to let him go on that one.
Thank you, Ben, for that question there.
Will, did you see Florida's uniforms that they're wearing this week?